Hi everyone, a few weeks ago I posted some bookmarks on my Instagram showing some corner bookmarks I'd made, and I asked if anybody would like to see how I made them. I made two in this design, but they were in different colours, and I did a fox design as well, all corner bookmarks. But I used the ScanNCut to cut the fabric for me from the PES stitch file. And several people left messages saying, yes, we'd like to see how it was done. So this is the video. So if you want to know how I took a PES embroidery stitch file and made it into a ScanNCut cut file to save me having to hand cut the fabric for this in the hoop project, keep watching. Okay, so to save some time, I've got my USB stick loaded into the side of my ScanNCut machine, and on that stick is the PES stitch file. So I'm going to go to Retrieve Data, I'm going to go to USB stick, I'm going to find my PES stitch file, and here it is. I'm going to choose the flower, that shows me the size of the design. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to choose the second option, which is just the outline, because that's all I want. And I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to say set. So the design is here on the screen. So from here, I'm going to say edit, object edit, and I'm going to go to the offset icon. Now by default, the offset is 0.06. And I know from when I stitched these bookmarks previously, which is what I posted on Instagram and asked if you wanted to see how I'd use the ScanNCut stitch file to make a cut file, and you all said yes, that from my previous testing, I know for me personally, for the offset that I want, I'm going to take this up to 0.16. I'm in inches, by the way. I did try it at 0.12. That's what I did on the test before I cut the original design. But then I decided that 0.16 was best for me. So I'm going to say OK. So now I'm not sure how well you'll see it, but there are actually two elements. So there's the original PES outline, and then there's another box which is the offset. So this one here is the original. I don't want that because I want the ScanNCut to cut my fabric bigger than that, which is basically the basting stitch for the design. So I can get rid of that. So I'm going to say OK, hit the rubbish bin and say OK. So now I've got this. And I want a front and a back. Now, I also know from when I stitched out the original bookmarks that I posted on Instagram that when you put the front and back together, they're not symmetrical. So I'm going to say Object Edit. I'm going to go to the number. I'm going to say I want two of them in total. So I've now got two. And one of them I'm going to flip, so that when I put the front and the back together, they will line up symmetrically, because this design isn't totally symmetrical. Now, it doesn't matter because once it's on the page of your book, you never see the front touching the back. And it is only, slightly off. But when it's not in your book, when I was packaging them up to give them as gifts to some family members, I did notice that they were slightly off, so it's not a symmetrical design. So I'm going to flip one of them, and to flip it, it's this icon here. So now you can see that they've been flipped. So hopefully when I put these together over my embroidery design, they will match up. Okay, so I've already got a piece of vinyl on my mat, and this isn't heat transfer vinyl, this is sewing fabric vinyl, and I'm using my fabric mat because it's got quite a lot of stick on it, and because I'm using my fabric mat, I'm using my fabric blade. However, when I cut the other bookmarks, I just use my regular blade. I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to scan the vinyl through the machine so that I can place these two shapes in readiness for when I start stitching out the file on the embroidery machine. So I'm just going to go into the wrench icon and make the background lighter so that I can see where they are. And let's see if we can do this and save on some vinyl. So I'm going to put them kind of next to each other. You can see the vinyl here on the screen, and I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to press start and cut. So everything seems to be OK there, so I'm going to press start. OK, so I've got a message on my screen that says that the material is too thick for this blade. So I'm going to take the fabric blade out and I'm going to put my regular blade back in. I'm going to say OK, OK, select and cut and start. And it looks like it's doing a second cut. So the auto blade is clever in that, you know, rather than just trying to force the blade through the fabric, it knows if something is thick to do multiple cuts. So I'm just going to peel a corner away and just make sure that's cut, and that has now cut through. So the fabric blade was no good in this instance. So that's finished. So I'm going to say yes and unload the mat. Okay, so I'm going to peel this away, and there are my two shapes. So when these go together, they line up much better now because I flipped them. So on the other one, they were off ever so slightly, not on all of the points, just on, you know, I think it was one at one end and one at the other and maybe one somewhere else. But like I say, when it's in the book, you couldn't tell. But that's the bookmark. So that's my two pieces. So now I'm going to take the USB stick out of my ScanNCut machine and I'm going to put it in my sewing machine and carry on with the project. So the USB stick is now in my sewing machine with the same PES file that you've just seen me open in the ScanNCut. So I'm going to go to embroidery, from the USB stick, find my design. I've already got my 4x4 hoop in the machine with a piece of tearaway stabilizer, and I've already got my thread loaded up. So I'm going to stitch step 1, which you can see on here is the placement stitch for the fabric. So I'm going to put the foot down. Oh, I need to say embroidery on the machine to set it on the mat. And you can see there's only 5 steps. The green light has lit up on my machine, so I can now stitch step 1. So step 1, as I say, is the placement stitch for the fabric. That's the step I used in the ScanNCut to make my cut file. So I'm just going to take this out of the machine. So this is what I've got now. So this now should fit over here with a good enough outline. I'm just going to bring in my little pad of foam to put under here to give my hoop some support, and I'm going to line this up. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some fabric glue stick in here and stick this down. Sorry, I need to do it the other way. I'm doing the front side. So I'm going to put I've just got a little pad just to give me a bit of support. So I'm going to put some adhesive, fabric adhesive glue stick in this shape to stick this down, to hold it in place while it does the stitching. But you can only stick the front one down. Don't use any kind of glue on when we put the back on the hoop, otherwise your bookmark will be glued together. Not sure how well you'll see this with it being pale pink thread, but I'm just trying to really get it to just hold the fabric in place. So I'm going to position this over the lines like so, but I'm going to turn it over, support it with my foam, and then maneuver it just into place so I've got a nice even outline, and that's why I made the offset 0.16, so it's bigger than the basting stitch, and then I know that when it stitches, hopefully I'll have a nice even border all the way around. And I've just got some foam underneath just to give some support while I'm pressing from the bottom side of my hoop so that I don't pop my hoop open. Now obviously if you're doing this by hand, then you'll just place your fabric on top, put it in the machine, stitch the next stitch and then cut round yourself. But the whole object of this exercise is to use the ScanNCut. So I'm going to pop this back into the machine now and lock it in place, and I'm on step 2. So I can put the foot down and press go, and hopefully that's held in place enough with that glue stick that it will start to do the tack down. So that's tacked it down all around the edge now. So step 3 is the decorative kind of leaves design. I'm keeping this all one colour. I'm not changing my thread or anything. I'm just doing pink on pink basically. The thread I'm using is an isocord, and as I said, I'm using fabric vinyl. So this is going to stitch the leaf detail. Then step 4 is the centre detail of the flower, which will be in the corner. And then we need to take this out of the machine, turn it over, put the back down and hold the back in place while it does step 5, which is securing the 2 pieces together. Okay, so that's done the outline. It's now going to do this detail here. So I'm going to put the foot down and stitch that. I may fast forward this bit because I'm not sure how long this takes, although the whole stitch out is only 6 minutes. And then I'll come back when I'm ready to take it out of the hoop and put the back section on. Okay, so that's finished step 5. How pretty does that look? So now I'm going to take it out of the machine and flip it over and put the back on. I'm just going to bring in my pad again. Hopefully you can see that now. So you can see the distance all the way around from the stitching, which is nice and even. I'm just going to cut a couple of the threads before I put the back on. And just get my lint roller. And having this section of foam underneath makes it a lot easier to work with, so you're not scared of popping your hoop open. So now the back needs to go on. But like I said, you can't stick this down. If you stick this down, you won't be able to use it as a bookmark. So I'm going to position it, and I can obviously see now a lot easier where the one is underneath. And I'm just going to use a few little pieces of tape. I don't want to use too much because the chances are the stitches will go over this, and I don't want to have to spend an endless amount of time trying to pick tape out of stitching. So what I'm going to do, you can see where it all lines up. I'm going to put a tiny little bit across the corner in the hope that I'm outside of the stitching, and I'm going to do the same on the top, and I can really press that down because I've got that, you know, pad of foam underneath. And the same with this one. So I've got it held down in 3 places. Now it's only got one more step to do, and that will only take seconds. So I'm going to flip it over, slide this back into my hoop so I can see where the tape is holding the underneath vinyl, and I'm just lifting up the hoop ever so slightly, and I can see that the vinyl is all nice and flat. So hopefully when this sews this together in these 2 places, it's going to sew nice and neatly, and I'm not going to end up, you know, having to unpick it or anything. So I'm going to put the foot down and start. There you go, there's the tune, and the stitching is all finished. So I'll take you back over now to my other desk and we'll have a look at it and take it out of the hoop. So here it is. So I can peel away the masking tape, and because I positioned it in the corners, I've managed to stay away from the stitching on them all apart from this one corner here. But if I peel it back nice and gently, I should be able to pick, there you go, I've got it out, pick the transfer tape out of the stitches. So I'm just going to trim the thread in that corner and trim the thread in this corner just while it's still on in the hoop. It sometimes makes it a bit easier. So now loosen off my hoop. So when I made the others, let me zoom out a little bit, see if I can, bit more room. So when I made the others, I did 3. I did 2 of these in different colours, and I did a different design, and I used my big hoop and put 3 in my big hoop, and there was loads of room. I could have got more in. But because I'm just doing this one for the video, I just decided to use my 4x4 hoop. But I'm thinking, if you position these so one up here and one down here, you'd probably get 2 in your 4x4 hoop as well. So now this is tear away stabilizer, so I'm just going to gently pull it out, and because I've got that gap all around that I put, you know, on the offset with the ScanNCut machine, I can get in here nice and close to the stitching. I mean, on the inside you can get in easy because you can open it, but like on your edges here, you can, you know, gently pull it and it will pull out. There's a little bit there that I need to pull out, but that's it. That's the corner bookmark. So like I say, because I didn't glue the back down, I'm now able to get in here. And then if you bring a book in, for anybody that doesn't know how these work, you just slide it on the corner of your page like so, and it just marks your book for you. So that's the project, and I think it turned out fab. Let me just zoom in so you can hopefully get a better look at it. But how lovely is that? And I've got a lovely neat border all the way around because the ScanNCut cut the offset for me. And it's such a simple design, and I think using the tone on tone looks really nice with this kind of like matte rose colour and then this nice pale pink isocord. Looks beautiful. If you don't like how much border there is all the way around, experiment in your ScanNCut when you add your offset. As I say, this was a 0.16 offset. The default comes in at 0.06. So maybe try 0.12 or 0.13 and get a bit closer. So that's it. So that's how I made the bookmark. You can see here on screen my website. If you go to my website and click on the blog tab and look for the picture of this, in the accompanying blog post will be the link to where I got this file on Creative Fabrica. There'll also be a link as well if you want to join. I joined I paid an annual fee in the UK. I think it cost me about £60 for the year, but that gives me unlimited access to everything that's on the site. So anything at all I see on that site now for the next year, I can go and just download and use. If you don't want to become a member, as I say, I'll put a direct link to this where you can just buy the one-off file. Anyway, that's the project. I hope you liked it. Thank you to everybody that left me a message on Instagram saying yes, they would like to see how I made it. Here it is, and please give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.